Hi, I'm Paul Schindler from Dade City News, and I was struck by the nuance and sensitivity of all the comments and reminders of the complexity of the situation and the complexity of Westerners trying to understand appropriately the cultural constructs in a society like Iran. I'm also mindful of the complexity of our own culture and probably the mindfulness of many of those who join these vigils about the problems with Bush administration foreign policy, about the fact that the Human Rights Campaign certainly doesn't speak for many, many people in the American gay community. But I wanted to ask Scott a question, because Scott, you were the one person on the panel who deviated from the theme of complexity and unknowingness by saying, you mentioned two things. First of all, you were nearly certain that there has not been an increase in repression of gays in Iran under the new regime. And also, and not to get into the whole debate about the Mashhad thing, what happened there, but you said there's also no evidence to impute Western gay identity to those two young men. Now, sources in Iran have reported that these two young men were at a party which these other Iranian men described as a gay party. They seem to be participating from those sources' views as gay men. And some of the sources who have spoken to Doug Ireland, who in some interviews that you described as compelling and authentic, have described what they say is in fact an increase in repression in the last year, in particular due perhaps to what some of the panelists have identified as one of the problems, which is that the Iranian government is responding to the Western interest in this case. But what I'm really asking, Scott, is where is the source of your certainty on those kinds of comments? I don't understand where that comes from.
Has your reporters spoken directly to people in Iran, in Mashhad, who have said that they have information about this case? Because what I understand he said is that he's talked to someone in San Francisco and Las Vegas who says that he's spoken to people in Mashhad who say they have information about this case. Now,
Doug also did speak to people, has spoken to a number of people in Iran. You probably read some of his interviews with people in the country.
Yeah, and many people we talked to in Iran believe that the Mashhad executions were for being gay. They don't have any direct information about it, and we cannot differentiate their belief from the reporting that they've seen in the Western media transmuted, carried into Iran. All that I've said, and I've said this repeatedly, is that we cannot accept as evidence second and third-hand reporting from people who won't share their sources with us, won't give us any specific information about those sources. Even in the climate of fear in Iran, people have come forward to speak to us, and as a human rights organization, we can only go by what they say. And my general impression is that journalists do likewise. I have also said that in the months after the Mashhad case, a number of Iranian diasporic organizations, two in particular, came forward and started to announce, they had an audience suddenly of people who cared about the death penalty in Iran. And they started coming forward to gay organizations and reporting, there's a story in Iran Focus, there's a story on this website about an execution for sexual offenses, and that is a gay execution. There was never any evidence for any of those, with the possible exception of one case in Gorgan, that they involved consensual homosexual acts. None. And in fact, Doug identified a case in Bandar Abbas on absolutely no evidence as being gay-related, probably gay-related, when Hadi and I went to him with the original news source which said that two of these people, of four people, had been executed for burglary and rape committed on an adult woman, and two of them for the rape of girls.
Scott,
5 or 6.
The only reporting he did on that said that those initial reports, he said, could not be confirmed. He did not report that those were gay-related things. He said that those stories had emerged and he could not confirm them. You need to be very careful what you say in response to what other people are putting out there.
And
It's
Paul,
important.
when we presented the facts to him, he never retracted it either. And they became, so far as I can see, part of the numbers that Doug continually cites about a pogrom without having evidence to back it up. I'm sorry, it's bad reporting.
I just want to interrupt for a second and remind the audience that this is an ongoing problem with organizations like Unified Podcast. We're not talking about denying because it's just compelling evidence in order to prove a case. And this morning I had a long conversation with Hadi about my own experience, in Iran, and things that he never knew, and he asked me if we can document those things. So what we're asking here is for evidence that we can rely on and, be authentic about what's really happened. We're not saying it didn't happen. The next person from the audience that has a question, please.
Can I actually say something?
Sure.
Is Gay City interested in reflecting this debate in its pages?
Yes,
You have my number and you have my email. I've been trying to get in touch with you guys.
You can give that to me.
No, I have all the emails, you guys, and left phone messages.
I'm sorry, what's it?
I've emailed your editors and left phone messages.
I'm the editor. I've
Okay.
not heard from you.
Really? Kouros Ismaili. I sent an email about 10 days ago and I've left messages. So if you're interested in having, an open debate, and I
Wait a minute. I'm not going to sit here and have you say that I'm not responding to your phone messages. Anyone in this room, Paula Elbert, can tell you that that is not my style. And I really object.
I'll show you my email.
You're grandstanding here to say that you've left the phone
No,
messages.
I'm very angry at Gay City for reflecting only Doug Ireland's opinions on gay Iranians and nobody else's. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Well, you need to get in touch with me.
I tried.
Okay,
That's what I'm
here's
trying
my
to say.
card.
Okay.
Call me tomorrow.
Okay. Point being that I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking that what's happening with Doug Ireland, with Peter Patrick, with gay activists in the West, picking up this issue is more about what's going on in this country and less about what's happening with gays in Iran. And that is my biggest concern right now. Okay? No, this is a very important thing. Okay? Doug Ireland writes a letter demanding that the U.S. Occupying forces, protect Iraqi gays from the training they're getting from Iranians on protecting Iraqi gays because the Iraqi regime is pinpointing Iraqi gays, learning it from the Iranian regime, and demanding occupying U.S. Military to protect them. Okay? This is not about, this is ridiculous for one thing to think that the U.S. military would protect Iraqi gays, and if they did, it would be the worst thing for Iraqi gays because the U.S. military is not protecting anybody. If they start protecting Iraqi gays, they'll become like, why are you being favored by the Americans? So it's a ridiculous kind of demand. I don't think he even meant it for it to happen. He meant it to expose the Bush government and homophobia. Okay? You can do that. You should expose Bush government and homophobia. Please do not use us to do that. Please do not use Iraqis, Iranians, anybody else with that. There's a crisis in gay politics in this country. DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act, the gay marriage is under attack, the right wing is on ascendance, right? And there's a need to mobilize this community, there's no doubt. I don't think this plight of gays in the country is the way to mobilize the American gay community. And I believe, and I'm beginning to really believe that that's really what is happening here. And that is, I want to debate it, I want to have it out, I think we need to talk openly, that is my concern here, and I want to talk it out to gay American activists, because if that is what is happening, you're using other people, basically, for your own agenda. And I'm beginning to believe that's really what's happening, and I hope that it's not. But let's have it out, let's make sure that's not what's happening.